Let's take a look now at how to set up your staff in LMN Time. This is where you're going to set up both the users of LMN Time, so admins, foremen, and field staff, and also just regular employees, people that don't necessarily use LMN Time, but they need their time tracked for payroll. So this would be like your laborers. All of these people get set up in staff. So let's see how it's done. You're going to jump to LMN Time. You're going to go over here to the staff menu and click that. Users must be in this list in order to have access to LMN Time. So that includes even administrators. So even if you've set somebody up as a user in LMN Estimating, you'll also have to add them as a user here in LMN Time in order for them to be an LMN Time administrator. Adding somebody as a staff, even whether it's a user or regular laborer, is really simple. We go down to the bottom and we hit Add Employee. Now you're going to put in their first name, their last name, and what type they are. The type is three kinds. Regular employee. A regular employee is just a laborer. They will have no access to the system. They won't clock in on a phone or anything like that, but they're in here so that foremen or admins can track their time. Supervisor and foreman is somebody that will have a username and a password. Supervisor or foreman, also known as maybe crew lead, these are the people out in the field that are going to track the time for their crew. And in order to do that, they're going to need a username and password to log in. And that's what it's asking you to set up over here. So you have two choices. Maybe you've set them up already. Typically, you wouldn't have set up foreman already, but you may have. And so we could choose existing LMN login, and then it'll pull from a list of your current users, and you're going to correlate this user you're adding with somebody you've already added. Most of the time, you won't have added them already, so you're going to go to New Login. And this is where we'll get a chance to enter their email, the user number I want this user to use, the password and PIN. So a PIN could just be a 4-number password, easier to remember, easier to type in on the phone, and then a confirmation. We've got to make sure it's the same. And then you'll obviously also have to check this billing notification telling you that, hey, there's going to be a monthly charge for adding this user. Setting this up is very simple, just two very basic rules. The email, there has to be an email here, but if that user doesn't have a real email, you can create just a fictional email at your own company. Do not set up an email address to somewhere else, because if anybody ever does a recover password and it emails an email out, you don't want that going to johnsmith@hotmail.com. Who knows who's got that account? So if you are going to set up fake emails for users that don't have emails, just set one up for your own company. So if my company was Sample Tree Landscape, I might just put employee01@Sample Tree Landscape. It doesn't really matter if it's a real address or not. Username, as long as it's unique, you're good. And the password has to be at least 4 characters like a PIN. There's some other fields over here that we'll describe that are important. Employee ID, not really necessary, but if you are syncing LMN with an outside payroll system, not QuickBooks, that may help you link employees from LMN to your external system. Skip payroll warnings. LMN has an option where it'll generate payroll warnings for employees who've worked more than a certain number of hours per day. If you don't need that warning on this employee, we just skip it. And then you've got subcontractor. So if this employee is a subcontractor, we would do that. What that does is exclude that employee from payroll exports. You've got this option that says salaried or not. So if this employee is paid a salary and not hourly, we would turn that on. That way it'll export their payroll differently to QuickBooks. And then can track employees. What can track employees does, it gives the user, so this foreman, permission to see the locations or the progress of other foremen. You may ask yourself, why would they want that? Particularly in a snow and ice scenario where you may have a salt truck driver following plow truck drivers, and they want to make sure the sites are done before they go and salt the lot. They could actually use that so that on their phone, they could see other foremen and what sites they've completed so that they would know without having to ask any questions what sites are ready for their service. That's about it. The only other difference would be your administrator mobile apps. And administrators have the exact field. And administrators are people that have access to all of LMN Time. So everything we're seeing here, not just doing the mobile app. Foremen only have access to the mobile app. So they can create timesheets, delete timesheets, that's about it. Administrators have options to everything we're doing in these videos, setting up jobs, changing your settings, approving timesheets, all that kind of stuff. So that would be your office staff. The last thing here is just a tab for group membership. So if you want to add this employee to a group, it's going to show you which groups that employee is a member of. However, in this case, when you're first adding an employee, you'll have to save them before you can add them to any groups. That's all you should need to know about adding your staff. Go ahead and create your admins, create your foreman, and then create all your regular laborers for time tracking, and you'll be ready to get started. If you have any questions regarding anything to do with staff, hit us up on live chat or go to golmn.com/help for our frequently asked questions. Or if you don't get an answer from either of those two, email us at advice@golmn.com and we will get back to you just as soon as we possibly can. Thanks.